Hello everyone, this application was created using Next.js, which is a full stack framework where we can work on the backend and front end on the same application, and is using the latest app router, which allows us to use server components and server actions. So the first thing we're going to do is clone down this application, and then we're going to get started with adding CRUD operations using MongoDB. Let's dive right into it. Welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to add CRUD functionality to a very simple to-dos app that I put together. You can access this to-dos app from my GitHub. You can find the link on the video description. We're going to use MongoDB and the MongoDB client to add CRUD functionality to this application. First thing we need to do, we need to navigate to this GitHub page, and you can fork it. You can click fork, and then you can clone it in order to get your own copy. But I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to copy the HTTPS URL here. And then on a terminal, I'm going to make sure I'm in the folder where I want to clone this repo. And I'm going to use the command git clone and then paste the link in here. And the link, a copy. Let's copy that again, paste it in here, and hit enter. Now the project was cloned down. We can cd into this folder. So cd Next.js dash MongoDB CRUD. We can hit enter there. We can do an ls or an ll just to see that we have all the files in there. Once we're here, we can run npm I to install all the dependencies that we need, like Nextjs and the rest of the dependencies. We need to wait until the dependencies are downloaded. Right, I paused the recording, and now you can see that my dependencies are installed. You can do the same and pause the video until your dependencies are downloaded. So once you have all the dependencies here, we can run npm run dev. Or actually, let's just open this up with VS Code. So we can do code space dot, or you can just open a VS Code window and open the project folder from there. And here I have my VS Code that is open. And let's take a quick overview on the application just to see where everything is located. So right now we have a app folder, a components folder that we're going to be working on. In the app folder, we're going to have the main page or the home page. And in the home page here, we have the main tag here, which is containing an H1 with just the heading. We are rendering a create to do component, which is just a form that is going to be creating a to do. And then we are importing the single to do, which is going to render each to do in here as soon as we have some data. Right now, we're just rendering some dummy data here from this array that we're calling in here. So let's look at the create to do. Inside of components, we can see create to do is a client component. So we see the directive use client. So the homepage by default will be a server component. So it's going to be rendered on the server, and the HTML is going to be sent to the browser. The create to do is a client component, so it's going to be loaded up in the browser, not in the server, because we need to use the use state in order to control our form, and we also need to listen on some events in here as well. So in here, we just have the state for the text. The text is bind to the input on the value here, and we have an on change, which is going to update the text state in here. We have a button that is going to submit the form, when the form gets submitted. So on submit, we're going to call handle submit. And at the moment, all we're doing is preventing the default console login, creating to do, just a console log for now. And we're clearing up the text after we do some operation here. We have some things in place already there for the to-dos app. So looking at the to-do here, in here, this one packs a little bit more functionality. It's also a client component. We're going to use state as well. And in the to-do, as you can see here, is going to receive two props, the text and ID. And if we go back to the page, we can see that we're going to pass a text, a key for React, and then an ID for us to know inside of the to-do which to-do we need to render, update, and delete. So in here, we're going to have a little state to see if we need to show the update input, which we're going to have in here. Then we're going to have a new text state variable, which is going to be initialized to the current text of the to-do. And the input will be able to update in this text because it's bind to the value here on this update input and that we put in here. And there's an on change to update the new text in here as well. So the text that it comes in, we display here. This this input is going to be conditionally rendered if the show update input is true. At the beginning, the initial value will be false, so we're not going to see this until we click on one of the buttons here, which is going to change this to true, and it will show us the input. So down here, we have a cancel button or a delete button. They're going to be rendered conditionally based if we are updating the text. So if show update is true, we want to show a cancel button for the user to cancel if they change their mind, they don't want to update it. There's going to be a delete button instead if they're not updating the text for the to do. And then at the bottom, we're going to have two more buttons. The one that is going to be the update button or the save button. And again, it's going to be conditionally rendered based on if we are updating the to-do or not. So let's go and run the application. In here, we're going to run the server from here. We're going to do npm run dev. And I want to put this here next to, actually, we have this here, this here. Let me just switch these around like this. Cool. I'm gonna have a new localhost. I'm gonna open localhost 3000 so we can see the app here. And we're gonna keep the VS Code running on the left-hand side. So this is how the app looks right now. If we go back to the page component, we see the h1, which is this. Then we see the create to do, which is this. And then inside of this section, we have an array, which we're mapping over the values 1, 2, 3. That's what we see in the text here. So right now, if we open the console, if we click right click and inspect, run this down, look at the console. If we type something here, hello world, and we hit create, right now we will see it's making a get request. Let's try that again. We see the creating to do in here, which right now inside of the create form, that's all we're doing right now. And then we have a few to do's here. If we click on delete on this one, it says deleting to do 1, deleting to do 2, or deleting to do 3. We click update. Right now it's going to change the, it's going to show the input. So we go back to the to do and we click, we can click cancel to hide it, but we can click update. When we click update, what the button is doing is just going to switch or toggle the show update to the opposite. So it's going to put it to true, and then we're going to be able to type something in here. We're going to hit save, or we're going to hit cancel. So if we do hit save, right now it's just going to say updating to do 1. And we need to work on the different actions that we need to take in order to work with the database. So the first step we need to do will be to install our MongoDB, and we need access to your MongoDB database, your Atlas application on the web. So log into your MongoDB, and then we're going to go into connect. As you can see here, we can click on connect, and then we're going to copy this here, and we're going to also install the MongoDB driver. So let's do that now. We can stop the server here. So Control C. We can copy the installation of npm I MongoDB in order to install the MongoDB driver. And we can also create a new file all the way at the root. We can right click in new file. We can call it .env.local. And in here, we're going to need a environment variable. We're going to call it MongoDB underscore URI. We're going to set that equals 2. We're going to copy the connection string, and we're going to paste it in here. And then all you need to do is put your actual password here. So I'm going to do this off video, but make sure you update your password here now. If you forgot your password, you can go and reset your password, but I'm going to do this off the screen, and then I'll come back to the application. All right, I already set up my password in the MongoDB string. In here, we can run the application backup by running npm run def again. And we can make this smaller and close this up for now. So the next step that we need to do will be to connect to our database, because we already have the URL, and we already have the MongoDB client. So what we're going to do, let's close all these folders for now. And at the top, we're going to right click, create a new folder. We can call it DB. And inside of the DB, we're going to create a new index.js. And in here, we're going to import from MongoDB. We need to import the Mongo client. And I'm going to do a very simple connection, and I'll show you in the documentation where you can learn more of the different options you have. I'm going to say let client in here. And then I'm going to have a try catch here. Okay. The error, let's just console log the error in here if we get any. And then inside of the try, we're going to check if there's no process.env.mongo, what do we call it? MongoDB underscore URI. We can throw a Mongo down here. Let's throw a new error. And we can just say MongoDB URI is require. And then if we pass that check, we're going to connect to our client. So we're going to say client is equals to a new Mongo client. and we just need to pass the process.env.MongoDB URI, and then we can call client.connect. And then at the bottom, we can just say export default client, format this, save it, and this is the client we're going to use inside of our server actions in order to talk to our database. So this is a very simple connection file, but if you want, I'm going to leave some of these links in here where you can read more about connecting to the Atlas app. So just what we just did. And you can also go and see the extended file here where you can see what options do you have, API versions, etc. So you will have that in the video description. So right now we can close this up, and now we're ready to create a new folder. So we're going to create a folder for our actions. And remember, our actions are going to be server side. So we're going to create a new file, index.js. And we need to mark this file as a use client. Not client, use server, because these are going to run server side. Even though you can pass these to client components, we're going to mark this whole file use server for now. Cool. So now let's import our client. So let's do import client from @db. And then we're going to do a variable here. We're going to say const db equals client, or we can say await client dot db. And the database that we want to connect, you can name this whatever you want. You need to pass a database name here. So I'm going to call it Nextjs, Next-to-dos. And that's the name I'm going to pick. You can pick whatever name you want for your database. So let's go down here and let's start working with the first action, which is going to be in the get to-dos. So the read functionality, we're going to try to read our to-dos. So we can say export async function get to-dos. And in here, we're going to have a try catch here. I'm just going to console log the error here to get one. And then inside of the try, I'm going to try to access my to-dos. I'm going to say const to-dos equals await db. So our db in here, that collection. So remember, you have a database which is Next.js, but then you can have many collections in there. And the collection that we want to access, we can just say the to-dos collection. So normally we can call it after the resource, so users collection, use collection, whatever. Even if we don't have anything, we can just name our database from here, and it's going to be created in our MongoDB Atlas in here. If we go to collections, you will see your database listed here on the left hand side, and soon we're going to be able to see the next to-dos. So just keep working with this. So we're going to, inside of the next to-dos, we're going to create a collection of to-dos, and then we're going to say dot find. We're going to do a find query to get all of them, and we need to call that to array, so we can return an array of our to-dos. We can have a console log to-dos here, and then we can return our to-dos from this function. And that's everything we need here. So where are we going to be calling this get to-dos? So our get to-dos, I want to call it back inside of the main page, so on the home page. So let's go into the home page app. Inside of the app, we're going to go to the main page, and in here we're going to, let's import at the top here, import curly brackets, let's just say get to-dos, and that is going to come from add actions, so from this file here. And then inside of the function here, we can just say const to-dos equals await get to-dos. And then we need to make sure we mark this function as a async function, and this is running server side, so we can mark this as async function in here. And then let's just console log to-dos from here as well. And now we're calling the function, and let's go back to the page here. Let's refresh it, compiling again. Better hide some here. There we go. Let's see, I have an error at the moment. It says constdb client.db next to-dos and every property from the file RoutingInDB add client. Let me see where this is coming from. So let's go back to actions. It says index line 4, index line 4. So client.db, we're getting a error from the client. Let's see if there's anything all the way at the top. Processing instruction is not defined. Index, so let's see, cannot read DB. So right now client, let's go back to our DB file in here. And oh, this here, I don't know how that got here, but it's process.env.mongodb URI. Let me scroll all the way down. Let me refresh here. And it's still giving me a little bit of an error here. Let's see what else is in here. Let's go and check. Let's check this again. So process.env MongoDB. Let's double check the environment variable name in here. Let me pause and check my environment variable file. So back in my .env, I had a little typo here, MongoDN instead of DB. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna paste my URL back in here. All right. Once I fix the little typo from the environment variable, now it matches this here. I'm able to connect to my database. So right now we're getting 2 empty arrays because right now that's a brand new database, a brand new collection that we created. So there's nothing there. So we can close this DB here. And right now we can see that this is working. We're getting 2, one console log from here and the other console log from here from the page. So now we can keep this one here if we want. We can delete the one from here just so we don't have that many, or you can comment it out. Now we can go back to our page. Let me put this in here. So in the page here now, let me hide the terminal. We have our to-dos here. And now that we have the to-dos, we can map over the to-dos instead of this array here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight this here, select this, and I'm going to delete it. And all we need to do here, let's do to-dos. Let's make sure that is true, and to-dos that map. So if to do's is true, and so if it's true, then we're going to do a to-do's map. We're going to map over each to-do, and we're going to render a to-do here with, and we're going to pass the information. Right now we don't have any, but that's fine. And now we don't have anything in the screen because this is an empty array. So that's fine. This is working. We want to be able to create to-dos. So let's go into the create in the components, create to-do form here. In this form, we have the text that we're going to get from this input. So this input here, we're going to be able to type something and hit create. Right now we just console login create to do from here. So we need to write a action for that one as well. So here we can do a little bit of documentation if we want, and get all to-dos. And then after this function, we're going to do export async function create to do. And here we're going to spec the text for the to do. It's just a very simple to do. And then we're going to say const to do equals await db that collection. The collection is the to do's. And then we're going to use the dot insert one. And then we're going to pass in an object here with all the values that we need in order to create a new document. For this one, all we need is the text. But if you had something that will have the text, the email, the password, everything will go inside of this object. So right now we just need to pass text. And then we can just console log the to do, or what we get back from inserting a new document to the database. And in order to see the new to do added, we're going to use the Nextjs revalidate path function, so it can refresh our page here. Not refresh, but to recreate the page from the server. So make sure the function was imported from here, and we're just gonna call it with / for the home page. Now let's go and use the create to do. So we need to go back to the create to do function, and we're going to import create do from actions. Put some space between these guys here. And instead of console logging this here, what we're going to do is that we're going to delete this here, and we're going to call the create to do, and we're going to pass the text that we need. So create do, and we need to pass the text. So this text here that we're going to have in the state will go there. So that call to this function will go back to this here, and is going to add it to the database. So let's give it a try. Let's do hello world. Let's say create. And right now we're getting an error, and that is because this is working, but when it tried to render everything here, we are getting a little bit of an error here because we're passing an object, and we just need to pass in the specific text from the to-do, the ID, and the ID will go here as well. So in here, what we're going to do, let's highlight the component here. Let's cut it, Control X. Let's put curly brackets in here. And what we're going to do, let's put a return in here. Let's paste the component back in here. And before we pass the values, let's destructure here the ID. So let's do const underscore ID and the text. So, and this is going to come from the each to-do that we're gonna get from the array. So each to-do is gonna have the text and an underscore ID that will be added by MongoDB. And if you actually check your database now and refresh the page, you might be able to find if everything went well. You can scroll down, next to-dos is here, and then the to-dos collection, we can see we have a new object or a new document with the text and the ID. And then that's what we are going to destructure here in order to pass it down to the to-do component. And in here, the text is gonna go here to text, and the key is going to receive the underscore ID dot to string, because we need to turn that ID into a string. It's not just a string when it comes from MongoDB, it's actually an object. This is where we're getting an error from. And then the ID, all we need to pass is, so let's also do the same thing we did here. So let's just copy this and put it in here because we need to receive that ID as well as just a plain string. You can format the document and that will look a lot better. And now you should be able to see your new to-do. You can see the text, the delete button, update in here as well. Cool. Next one we're going to work on is the delete to-do, which is easy. So let's go back to our actions. And here we can put a little bit of documentation. Create a new to-do. Down here, we're gonna do export async function delete to-do. And of course, we're gonna need an ID to know which document we need to delete. And all we need to do is call await db.collection. Our collection is in the to-dos. And then we're gonna do a dot find one and delete. And here we're gonna pass in, I need to make sure this is a wait. And here we need to pass an object with the underscore ID that we're looking for. And then we're gonna pass in here. We actually need to use a object. We need to bring in a class, a object here called the object ID from MongoDB, and make sure that was imported in here from MongoDB. And then from here, we need to call the dot create from hex string and then parentheses and pass in the ID. We can format it so you can see it better in there. And this is just going to make sure the ID that we pass in is able to, MongoDB is able to read it, because this is what they use. And then here we're gonna call the revalidate path again to just refresh the same page, because we're just working on the home page right now. And that's it. That's everything the delete to-do is going to do. Let's just add some documentation here really quick. Deletes a to-do by the ID. Then the delete to-do, we're going to go into the to-do component and we're going to import it at the top. So import curly bracket delete do from add actions, put some space here, and then we want to call the delete to do when the user presses on the delete button right here. So right now we have an onclick, which is just console login, deleting to do, and then the ID. And instead of doing that, we just need to call the delete to do here We're gonna delete this console log called delete to do and pass the ID. And now we can try this out by clicking delete. It gets deleted. We can add it back. We can add one more. Have two, delete one, and we got one left. Pretty straightforward with the delete. Always the challenging one is the update to do. But we're gonna tackle that one really quick and finish this off. So back into the actions here, we're going to come back here and we're going to create another function, export async function update to do. And here we need to receive the ID of the to do we need to delete and the new text or any new data that you need in order to update a specific document. So in here, all we need to do is call await db.collection. The collection is to-dos. And then we need to do a dot find one and update. And we need to pass in here two values. And this is supposed to be a dot find one and update. Here we need to pass in first an object with the underscore ID that we're looking for. And we need to do the same thing with it here. So I'm just gonna copy this, put it in here. So we're taking in the ID, we're passing it here so we can find it by the ID. And then after the closing curly bracket there, we need to pass the new command that we want to run in order to do the update. So we're going to pass another object here. We're going to use the $set operator from MongoDB, and we're going to say, go ahead and set the text of this object, of this document, to the new text. And we can format this in here. And after this closing parentheses, we can just revalidate this again. I'll copy that down, bring this one down here. Format it, and that looks good. This one updates a to-do by the ID. By the way, I'm going to link the CRUD operations documentation from MongoDB. You can have your read operations, your find, and then your insert, modify, delete, and update in here. So you can go in there and navigate to the documentation if you want to update, insert, or update a single operation. You can update one, update many. There's different, but there's different things you can use. But you can see here we're using the set. And then they setting the name to this value, the address to this value, etc. I'm gonna link that to in the video description so you can go there and check it out. And now that we have the server action ready, we need to go back to our create to do. Not the create to do, we can actually close that up, and we need to go back to the to do component in here. And in the to-do component right here, we have a console log that says updating to do in our handle update. And we need to just import the server action. So update to do. And then we're going to call the update to do. And we need to pass in the ID. Then we need to pass in the new text, which is the state value that we have here. So that should go and execute. Let me save it, execute this update. It's going to receive the ID and the new text, and it's going to do the find one and update operation on your database. So let's try this out. Let's go and click update. When you click update, you're going to have a cancel button and a save button. If you click cancel, you just go back to not showing the update input. So click on that again. We can do some exclamations here. And if we hit save, we can see we have updated our to do. And if we can go and check back in the database, we can click a refresh here. And we can see that the text was updated. All right, that's it. Now we can create multiple to-dos, and we can do full CRUD operations with MongoDB. Again, go back to the documentation, read more, and I hope this helps. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.